How's it going, everyone? This is Mitchell Mander here, and welcome to another review of the Pokemon Journey series. We're going to be covering episode 62 in today's review. And our boy Sobble finally evolved into Drizzile, and went through a little bit of an edgy/emo arc in this episode. So, how was the episode overall? Well, before we get into that, you know the drill. You know the channel, you like this type of content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Alrighty, onto the review. So this episode has a pretty interesting start. So Ash and Go are actually being interviewed by a TV crew because they're research fellows at the Sock Rocket Labs, and they're being interviewed for their roles at the lab and traveling around the world. So they're basically telling the TV crew about their adventures, and I think the one that they were talking about was the episode where they went to the Dugtrio Diglett farm. So they were telling the TV crew about that, and then they end up talking about their goals, which was a pretty neat sequence. Meanwhile, you have Sobble over here, who is actually acting like Inteleon, and ends up using Water Gun all over the place. But Oddish over here is actually walking, and is about ready to get hit in the head with a berry, but Sobble saves the day by using Water Gun on that berry to save Oddish. But just then, Sobble evolves into Drizzile. But Sobble over here thinks it's going to be evolving straight into Inteleon. Well, it has to evolve into Drizzile first, so too bad, Sobble. Now, as the TV crew are taking off, Go gets a notification on his phone that Sobble evolved into Drizzile, so he gets Drizzile's information. So, Ash, Go, and Koharu go to check out Drizzile. Meanwhile, Drizzile over here is super happy, thinking he's evolved into Inteleon, until he looks in the water and realizes that, yeah, he's not Inteleon yet, he evolved into Drizzile. Which thus begins Drizzile's depression arc, or emo/edgy arc, whatever you want to call it. I'd actually go with the depression emo phase, but that's just me. Anyways, Drizzile over here is super upset, and there's some interesting scenes that go on here where Drizzile is interacting with a lot of Go's Pokemon. And either Drizzile gets annoyed by these Pokemon, or these Pokemon are annoyed by Drizzile, which eventually Drizzile manages to get away, until Cinderace actually finds Drizzile, which Go actually sent Cinderace to go find Drizzile because they were having a hard time locating Drizzile in the Sock Rocket Labs. But Cinderace ends up finding Drizzile, and Drizzile ends up going to this random cave. So Cinderace goes back to Go and the others and is like, hey, Drizzle's in this cave, go check him out. So Go finds Drizzile, and Drizzile over here being edgy now. It just wants to be left alone, doesn't want to talk to anybody, just wants to be on its own, secluded away from everybody. Eventually Cinderace actually ends up dragging Drizzile out of the cave, and Ash and Koharu realize immediately that something's up with Drizzile. Drizzile actually starts to cry and disappears and actually runs away from the Sock Rocket Labs, just straight up walks out the doors and just leaves, which upsets Go. Now, Ash, Go, and Koharu end up telling Professor Sakuragi, Kikuna, and Renji that Drizzile ran away. And this is a pretty interesting part of the episode, because they're talking about Drizzile, its personality likely changing after it evolved, kind of like how Scorbunny's personality changed when it evolved into Reboot. Same thing here, but Drizzile over here seems to be secluding itself purposely, like it just wants to be alone. It just wants to be Inteleon so bad that it's just depressed that it's a Drizzile. It just wants to be alone. It doesn't want to talk to anybody, it doesn't want to do anything, it just wants to be alone. And Renji actually compares this to when a Caterpie evolves into a Metapod. It just wants to be alone. It's secluded itself before evolving into Butterfree and becoming a little bit more free. So I thought this was an interesting conversation they had. Now Go, Koharu, and Ash go to try and look for Drizzile again, but it's getting late and they're having no luck. Obviously Drizzile can make itself invisible, so they're going to have a really hard time tracking down Drizzile. Go over here tries to find Drizzile on his own, but Ash and Koharu basically insist that they're going to keep looking for Drizzile along with Go. And Go kind of wonders why Drizzile is secluding himself, but he then gets a flashback memory from when he was a child. And then he ends up running off, and I believe he's going back to his place. Someone correct me in the comment section down below if I'm wrong. I don't know if this was like a random building, or basically where Go lives at, just the building where he lives at, or like the roof of the building he lives at. But anyways, Drizzle's here, and Go finds Drizzile here. Now, Go ends up talking to Drizzile, and basically Go can relate with Drizzile, because Go, in his flashback, when he was a kid, he basically didn't want to play with any of the other kids. He basically was on his own. He wanted to be left alone. And the teacher wondered why Go doesn't want to play with the other kids. She wants to know why. and Go just won't say anything. He's just crying over here. So Go pretty much can relate to Drizzile in this situation, because Go essentially, when he was a kid, he wanted to seclude himself. He didn't want to be around anybody else. He didn't really have anybody. His parents were working all the time, and he didn't exactly go to his grandma for advice all the time. So he basically was on his own. So Go is like the perfect trainer for Drizzile over here in this moment. And Drizzile actually ends up accepting Go and ends up disappearing. So Ash, Go, and Kahoru end up going back to the Sakuragi Labs, but it seems like this conversation ended up having a pretty big impact on Drizzile, as Drizzile ends up coming back to the Sakuragi Labs, but goes back into that cave and hangs out. And that's pretty much where the episode comes to an end. So I have to say, overall, I thought this was a fantastic episode, and one of the best Go-centric episodes in Journeys. I thought it was really well done. I thought the writing was on point, and it was really well written. I like the music in this episode. I think the placement of the music in this episode was really good, and it hit really well. And I just thought, overall, just fantastic episode. I was afraid going into this, like when we first found out that Sobble over here was going to evolve, and it looked like Drizzile over here was going to be an edgy boy just like Reboot. I was afraid they were going to reuse that storyline, but I'm actually pretty happy to say that they decided not to go in that direction. I think that was for the best. But obviously for me, the best moment in this entire episode was the scene between Go and Drizzile sitting on the roof, talking it out, and Go being able to relate with Drizzile. I think this was really well done, and it makes sense because Go, throughout his life, until he met Ash, Kahoru was his only friend. He didn't talk to anybody else. He didn't want to make any friends. He just wanted to be on his own. So I thought this was great. It was a beautiful scene, and it was very well done. And Go in this moment is like the best trainer for Drizzile here, as he relates with them. And I just like the fact that he decides to basically let Drizzile basically stay secluded. Give Drizzile its space, let it be by itself. Don't force it to come out of its shell. Just let it be on its own. And then eventually, when the time comes, Go wants Drizzile to accept him, which Drizzile indicates that, yeah, I will come for you. I will accept you. I'll come back. So just give me some time, and I'll come back to you. So I thought that, I love that moment. That was a fantastic moment. Also, I want to mention it was pretty nice to see some of Go's Pokemon that we rarely see in the series make an appearance in this episode. Even though it was brief, it was nice to see some of these Pokemon. Just wish that Go would rotate his team a little bit so we could see some of these Pokemon more often. Now, the only issue I had with this episode was with how Sobble evolved. I didn't feel like it was very impactful. I feel like it happened just so quickly in the episode. It was just like, oh, Sobble evolved. Alrighty, on to the rest of the episode. I kind of wish this was handled a little bit better. It was kind of like with how Sobble was caught in the first place. It kind of felt the same thing where it was like, okay, it just happened. Here's the rest of the episode, you know? Same thing happened here. And it just didn't have enough impact, in my opinion. I think this could have been a lot more impactful and could have been better done. But that's the only complaint I have with this episode, and it's more of a minor complaint. Because the rest of the episode is fantastic, but I just wish this was handled a little bit better. Alrighty guys, that's all I got for this episode review. So overall, a fantastic episode, a very well written episode, and overall just great. I give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. So guys, in the comment section down below, what did you think of this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Post your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys later. Have a good one, everyone.